For years, Toronto has been Canada's most visited city, but that record doesn't mean much this year. Tourism way down, and demand for short-term rentals like Airbnb has dropped 60 to 75% over the summer, forcing some owners to unload their property.
So it's really tough for some of the landlords to sustain that.
Take Toronto's ICE condos, 1,100 apartments, perhaps 80% of them used only for short-term rentals. But nearly half have been listed for regular rent since the pandemic began.
Some of them even close to 100 days on the market. And that's almost 100 days without rent, have to pay your mortgage.
Good news, you would think, for Toronto tenants. More supply should mean lower prices. Except that isn't really happening.
There was a slight decrease in the average rental price of a one-bedroom in Toronto. It's still $2,100. So we're not necessarily seeing that the drop, vacancy rates kind of increasing, and then for the prices to come down.
Take Toronto's Kensington Market, popular with artists, and so tourists came to stay. That priced the artists out. Even with urban bookings way down for sites like Airbnb, the rents here aren't in decline.
A lot of folks that rent in this province, and especially in Toronto, they don't make that much money. Half of renters in Ontario make less than $40,000 a year. So they were already struggling before the pandemic.
That pandemic has pushed urban dwellers to places like this, open spaces and uncrowded places. There's been a more than 10-fold increase in bookings since April in this picturesque escape county just 3 hours from Toronto.
We're gonna go to Italy and Germany, so
it would be a nice European vacation, but of course 2020 seemed to have other plans.
We had a Danube cruise planned that was canceled.
There aren't enough hotels here, and investors took note. So about 1 in 10 of the homes in the county is now on Airbnb or a site like it.
It's had a significant impact on affordable housing in the community.
We met Treat Hall in the town of Bloomfield. A quarter of the homes on the main street are now short-term rentals. Down the road in Wellington, it's 3/4. When the tourists pack up, there's not much community left. But with declining affordable stock, the high rent prices stick around.
So corrosive in terms of potential tensions between newcomers and long-standing residents. So regulation, which for my money is fair, even-handed, but long overdue, and will have the effect of, it won't roll back Airbnbs, but it will cap them very close to their current level.
That regulation, says Hull, introduced 2 years ago, limits how many short-term rentals can exist. He's also chairing a new affordable housing effort seeking to create places for those being priced out of a home.
It's terrible. People can't live here in Picton because our rent's too high. And we have a couple nursing homes that they can't get staffed because people can't come because there's nowhere to live. Nowhere to live affordable.
And now, a new pandemic factor.
We are starting to see migration of people from more densely populated areas to places like Prince Edward County where they can work from home.
The county's mayor, Steve Ferguson, says they're seeing more people moving, and that's adding more pressure.
So for rural communities, I think this is something that may be good for us in the long term. But where exactly it's going to end up, I don't know.
As short-term rental investors unload their places onto the regular rental market, tenants do have some greater power.
However, in terms of a more kind of long-term trend, it's too early to know what's going on. It's been only a few months.
Bahar Shadpour has greater optimism for a citywide effort to penalize certain investors.
Those speculators that are buying up a lot of our housing units, keeping them empty just so that they can rent it out here and there to tourists, that they are taking away that incentive and will put those units back on the housing market.
Even in a pandemic, with demand shifted and generally down, short-term rentals continue to eat away at affordability, especially for tenants on the lower end of the scale. David Coleman, CBC News, Toronto.